What's up, family? Welcome to another episode of Mix and Mingle. I'm Max Mitchell.
I'm Cardass.
I'm
So
DJ Will House.
far, we've had nothing but illustrious guest DJs from Real House Radio on Mixcloud platform. And today
Who do we
is
have?
no
Who do we have?
different. This man, he needs no introduction. Ladies and
Stop
gentlemen,
it.
the legend.
The legend.
Appreciate it.
Welcome, brother.
How y'all doing, man? How y'all doing?
We're doing
well.
just fine, man.
Y'all looking good, my brothers. Good to see my brothers once again. Good to see y'all.
It's good to see you, brother.
Carlos, what's going on, man?
This is your moment, man. This is your moment. This is all about Mr. Will Masters.
Okay, well, I mean,
This is
I'm
your
here.
origin story. This is your origin story. This is us.
Okay.
This is us getting to the nitty gritty of what made you and what drives you today with regard to
Okay.
your musical life.
All right, I'll do the best I can with this feeling memory I got here. But yeah, I'll do what I can. It's been a minute, but I've been doing well. Go ahead, ask away.
Right out the gate, brother. Right out the gate. What legendary DJs do you put on the top three?
Oh, wow. Ooh, you put me on the spot right away. Let three legendary DJs that I consider on my list, and only three. There's so many of them. It's so many of them. If I had to decide, for me, my three top DJs, legendary. I guess the first one would be Tom Severese.
Okay.
Filipino.
And I'll explain why with him in a minute. But I just want to get the people out first. Tom Severese would be the first one for me. The second one, are you talking just DJ or DJ and producer?
Just DJ.
Just DJ. The second one would be T. Scott.
Okay.
And the third would be David Mancuso.
Now, fill the people in on all three for those who
Tom
don't know.
Tom Severese was an early 1970-ish DJ who mixed at he did guest spots at the Sanctuary. He did spots at the Saint and other various clubs. He was one of the DJs one of the first DJs, if not the first DJ, that held the 126 BPM when it came to disco. He mixed impeccably well. Well, back in those days they were called changes, not mixes. The changes that he did from one record to the other was top notch, just top notch. We all know back in those days, disco was live instruments being played. So just when you think you're in pitch mode with trying to get your record in, here comes the and now all of a sudden you're off beat. And remember, in those days, they didn't have pitch control turntables. They had the old Foreman's turntables where you had to actually, work that platter. It was all belt drive. So, but Tom was able to manipulate those turntables as best as I've ever seen it done. Who was the second one I said? T. Scott.
T. Scott.
Now, T, I remember back in the day, when he was the resident Better Days. Well, actually, before Better Days, when he was doing the skating rink in Brooklyn, Empire Rollwick with DJ Big Bob. That's where T actually crafted his mixing skills. Later becoming a legendary DJ at his own spot, Better Days. T was the master, in my opinion, of um, changing one record to the other when it comes to vocals. He played a lot of vocals. He was able to manipulate those vocals above other tracks, which sounds like at times didn't make sense. But if you heard it over and over again, it became a signature for him. You know what I mean? That particular sound became his own, and only he could do it. You know, the way he can do it. T took chances. T played a lot of obscure stuff that made you question, you know, why is he playing this? And the club is packed full of, you know, gay black men. Because we all got to remember, Better Days was a black gay club. It was black and it was gay. However, you know, it evolved into where the heterosexual community and gay community were able to party, and there was no issues, nothing like that. But he had that particular following where everybody came to party, and everybody cheered him on when he mixed. So I think that's what inspired me with him is his mixing ability to do with vocals. He wasn't really good with tracks, but he was really, really good with vocals, from what I can remember. Of course, his production skills speak for itself. He was definitely a master on.
To this day.
To this day, yeah. The third DJ, who did I say? David. Well, David is obviously David. I mean, we all know, I mean, those that frequented 647 Broadway or 99 Prince Street, wherever you started going to the loft. I was able to go one time, but that one time that's all you needed, you know what I mean? And it was, of course, it was 99 Prince Street. I was too young to go in the 647 Broadway at the time. But David thought about what that next record would be. You know, he liked Larry. Well, actually, Larry liked him because Larry and Nikki are the ones that learned from David their craft. David was obviously the original. David told stories with his records. David introduced you with a lot of sounds and beats that you know memorized. A lot of storytelling in his selection. He would play a record from beginning to end. He would allow it to, you know, do that little scratch on, and we all clapping and the balloons going all over the place. And then he'll just pick that and he'll start it all over again, based on the crowd's reception to that song. David was big on acoustics. David was big on the sound that came out of those speakers. He wasn't really big on, you know, well, yeah, I got this record nobody has, and that kind of, that's not what he was about. He was more into sound, which ultimately affected me. Back when I first started this thing, I was into, I got the white label promo. It's going to explode in 10 seconds. I'm the only one that got it. Yada yada yada. You get the big head and stuff like that. But now, as I've gotten older, and really embraced this craft for over 40 years now, I'm more into sound quality. I became a purist when it comes to the sound, the recording, how a vinyl on a vinyl on platter is supposed to sound, the type of bass I want to hear in it, the type of treble that should be in it, the vocals. That's what David was about. David was particularly about sound quality. He didn't have to turn the system up too loud because of the way he had his speakers, you know, sectioned off in his loft. All right, he was all about acoustics, and that's all it took. So I had to learn that down the line. I always thought if you turn the music up, yeah, you jam and you doing it. No. A lot of times it sounds messy. A lot of times it becomes deafening, and you know, you don't get anything out of that. You want to. We as DJs were entertainers. We entertain the people. Okay, and what I would like to do, and what I have tried to do in my profession, is to um, give the best I possibly can when I DJ. You know, and I want people not only to hear the record but to enjoy it. You know what I mean? And one way of enjoying it is to be able to hear it. So I'm big now on sound quality. I don't have all my big speakers in here anymore. I have everything in storage. I have my little two K Rocks and my two little Pioneers up here, but that's enough. Why? Because the acoustic setting is around me. It sounds like a club in here sometimes, especially when I'm doing my live set. But that's really all I need. And then it makes me think back from that one party that I went to at the loft. I'm like, well, wow, that's what David was trying to teach those that paid attention. Those that paid attention. Yes, a lot of people went there because of his music selection, because the aura that he was creating, and the love, but some of us did go there to learn, and I was one of them. So I thank David for teaching me that. It took me a while to get to that point, but I'm there now. I'm there now. So those are my three. I don't mean to be long-winded, but those are my three top DJs that I embrace. Now, make no mistake, all the others that came before them, Francis Grasso, Steve Dequisto, David Rodriguez, all those guys, they're good in their own right. But those three are the ones that caught my attention, and it has kept my attention for this far.
Those are a great top three right there. Give the people what they want. Give them what they want.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
Let me ask you, how did you meet Brother Cardass?
Oh, wow. I don't even remember. Oh, God.
I'm curious for your response. I'm curious. Because I remember.
You remember?
I remember.
I think it was through Keith, one of my boys. No?
Nope.
I know I did your wedding. That I do remember. I did you and Sissy's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember how we. Was it through real? It wasn't through Real Record Pool, was it?
It was through
Real Record Pool.
It was through Real Record Pool.
That's right. It sure was. Right. Me and Rick we belonged to the same record pool back in the 80s, wasn't it? Right? Early 80s.
Yeah.
And the record pool director, Gene Satiros, Ditmars Boulevard, I think that's where it was, over that area.
In Astoria, Queens.
And that's when I met Mr. Cardass. And we were, well, I said I was a mobile DJ. I really wasn't playing anywhere, but I was still getting records. I'm sure Rick was a lot more established than I was at the time. But yeah, we met in that record pool along with a couple of other brothers that I still keep in contact with today. And we formed a bond, a real tight friendship. I've been knowing Rick for now, how many years now?
Good God, 88, 87. So it's been some years.
It's been over 20 years, and he's a good guy. He's really good guy.
I'm humble.
We've been through a lot together. A lot. I mean, he has stories about me. I have stories about him, and we're brothers. We're brothers.
And the common thread has always been the music, right?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. We used to get our records in on Fridays, and then we would go, we would trade, we would talk. What'd you get? Did you get this? Nah, Gene didn't give me that, man. Why you give me that?
That was always the thing. He'd have 20 copies of this one particular promo, and he would only give it to certain folks. Which I understand now, looking back at it. But during those days, I was less than thrilled. What do you mean? He gave you this and I didn't get a copy.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, I thought it was kind of unfair that I would get something that he didn't get, because, like I said, he was more established, like literally playing somewhere. And back in those days, you had to be playing somewhere in order to get the records to anyway, because, that's what the record pools were about. It's about promoting the music.
Those were good days, though.
Yeah, those were good days.
Good
A lot of
days.
records I left on that N train that I didn't want to bring home because,
Oh.
because it was garbage. I would go through my records on the train, and if I knew it was garbage, I just put it right on the seat, just walk off the train, and some lucky soul would get it. But yeah.
How'd you meet the other half of Priority Productions?
That would be you. Okay. Wow, that's a good. Jesus. I want to say I met you through Kenny. Was it Kenny? Was it Errol?
Like Brother Cardass, I know.
I don't. I mean, y'all gotta understand. Y'all know I'm old now. I can't remember a lot of stuff. So why don't you remind me? Tell me how we met. I don't remember. I know we
Harlem Brownstone.
No, that was before that. That was what? No.
Now, I know the story. I know the story.
You talking about? You ain't talking about B Nation, are you?
That's.
We all gonna keep this PG as best as possible.
Okay, yeah. That's why I said B Nation. That's right. Okay. So I guess, but that's how. But someone had to introduce us. I don't remember who introduced us. Who was it? Do you remember?
Well, tell that story about the brownstone in Harlem.
Oh, Lord.
And then I'll tell you.
That's kind of hard to keep it PG, but okay, I'll try. I'll do my best.
It's all good. It's all good. You keep it NC-17.
Yeah.
Well, in regards to NC-17, I just think that well, we got together. I don't know how we did, but I'm sure Brian will fill in the gaps for me. We tagged up as Priority Productions, where Brian would play the R&B and I think a little bit of a hip hop and maybe some reggae in between, and I would play the house music. The brownstone that we're talking about was 3 East 128th Street, I believe it was. It was I forgot the name of the place, but it was a residence that me and him did I think it was every Friday or every Saturday, one of them nights. And I would play upstairs. Or did we do the same level?
No. I think you were upstairs.
I was upstairs. I know you was downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
You had to be downstairs because we had 2 systems in there, didn't we?
Yes.
Okay. So we did our little thing. It was an interesting spot. It was more like an after hour spot. But we gelled. And when it came to doing music and playing together, we enjoyed each other's company and we complimented each other on what we were doing at the time and still do. That's really all I can remember. I mean,
I'm going to take us to that. I'm going to take us to that NC-17. I'm going to push the boundaries on that. So from all the stories, I never made it there, but from all the stories, the crowd there was a very eclectic, interesting crowd.
Yes.
And there was a little bit of raunchiness that was taking place.
Yes.
From the stories. So, but how did that affect you guys as you guys were playing the music? Was that motivational? Was it inspirational? Knowing that everyone was just getting open and having fun.
Will, let me fill in the blank over here. So I was introduced to that spot by the owner, who also just happened to work for Toyota Potemkin on 57th Street. And I bought a vehicle. I bought a car. That was my first new car. And he was the rep. He was the sales rep. And it was through him that he said, "Hey, I have this spot." He found out I was a DJ, so introduced me to the spot. I started playing for the spot. So that's how I met you, who was playing on the next level, and I would come down. Yeah.
So I was already established. How did I get? Wait, I don't even remember. So I was there before you got there. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if it was before. I don't know the timeline, but
His name was, I remember the guy's name, I think it was Douglas Holly. Was it that his
Douglas
name?
Holly. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look
Oh,
at
you
that.
do remember?
Wow.
I mean, it's coming back to me little by little, but I just don't remember. It was a long time.
Yeah, that's how we connected. Yeah, I would go over to your level. I was feeling the vibe, and yeah, we just hit it off from there.
How the heck did I get?
It was it was
Okay.
vice versa.
All right. I don't know where I met this guy from. I thought it was through you. I thought you had set up all that whole arena, but I guess not. I guess I don't know how it happened. I don't remember. All I know is at some point in my life, I hooked up with this brother here, Mr. Max Mitchell, and it's been vibing ever since. It's been magic ever since. We've done a lot of functions together that he mostly created and put together. I remember we did a party on Bond Street. I think it was for Macy's. I think that's what it was. Remember that? We did that. We did one party, very memorable. I remember was in Brooklyn. You remember that one? The basement party, where we played all night long, and a lot of raunchiness and stuff was going on down and up in there too. But we, those were the best parties. Those were the best parties. It was more like it was more of a fellowship than just a party. It was getting to know one another. It was enjoying each other's company. It was vibing on the music. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and I think that was the engine that kept me going as to wanting to continue to party and DJ with this group of DJs, because it wasn't just me and Brian at the time. It was Errol, it was Kenny, it was Calvin, it was Paul, it was Jordan. We even had our own security. So we were doing our thing. We were doing our thing.
Yeah, we were. We were. Fond memories.
Yeah.
Fond memories.
Yeah.
And what year was this? What year?
You remember the year, man? I guess it has to be the late '80s, I think, or maybe
Yeah.
early '90s.
Yeah, because that car was an '89 Toyota Celica GTS.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So there it is. There it
All
is.
right. See, I didn't know that. I didn't know that nugget of the story. So good.
He
to
just
know.
reminded me of that. I wow, that's going. God bless you, brother. I would have never remembered that for real.
Mr. Masters, let me ask you, what, in your opinion, what's the state of house music today?
Well, I'm glad you say in my opinion, because a lot of people may not agree with what I'm about to say, but and I'm only saying this because I was around at the start of it, of the whole movement. I think the state of house music is extremely poor. I think that there's no creativity anymore like it once was when it first started. I think there's a lot of repetition going on when it comes to tracks. Um, there's very little vocals anymore. It's all, and when I say that is that you got a lot of these subgenres of music now in house music. Okay. And I embrace them all. I don't have nothing against them. What I do have a problem with is when one subgenre is being focused more than the other. In other words, let's take Afro House for example. When you're hearing too much Afro House, it kind of makes you forget about, well, wait a minute, there's other genres of house too that we need to explore or not have to listen to or want to listen to or even trying to listen. You can't when you're oversaturating the pool with just one subgenre. So what I'm seeing now is that whatever's hot at the time, as far as Afro house, that's what you're gonna hear. You're gonna be oversaturated with just Afro house. But what about soulful house? What about acid house? What about tribal house? What about drum and bass? All of these subgenres come from this thing we call house. I am personally disappointed in how in the direction house music is going right now. I hope that it would improve, and maybe it's because of what how I was introduced to house music, which was back in the early '90s. Um, I think we forget that. Well, not forget. I think we fail to realize or even remember that house music is really recycled disco. That's all it is. If you think about it, it's 120 BPM music, which was disco. Sometimes disco was 126, 128. Okay. Um, the house music was a lot of the house music was actually um, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Was made through old disco records.
So I'm gonna push back on your thought as far as specific subgenres oversaturating the sound waves, because I think we have a responsibility as DJs to really deliver the music to the audiences. So I think that while I agree with you that there are at times focuses as far as the sales from a sales perspective where labels might be pushing a specific sound or something along those lines, but I think it's incumbent upon us to curate the music and to make sure that we're engaging the audience with everything. And I will say that from subgenre perspective, you've got new disco, you've got other variations that are really bringing back the sound, the original sound, of disco and incorporating that into house music. So I think that there is music out there. I think there is an availability to that music. It's time consuming to find it. So I do agree with you that from a marketing perspective, you might have one genre uh, that gets a lot of play per se from a marketing perspective. But I think it's incumbent upon us as DJs, as the entertainers, as you said earlier. I think it's incumbent upon us to find that music, to bring that music to the audience.
Well, I agree, but I will still say that if it is the DJ's responsibility or job to do so, then we're at fault. I agree. I
Mhm.
totally agree with you. However, maybe it's just because I'm so, and I admit it, I am stuck. I'm stuck in from the day that I was introduced to music and how I have learned how that particular song is supposed to sound, as opposed to how I'm hearing it today. I think a lot of the reproduction of that particular song that I know and love, that I'm used to hearing a certain way, does not meet my um, um, satisfaction.
Your standard.
And I'm not saying all of them. I'm not saying all of them. There's a lot of great producers out there who are um, doing their homework, because you got to do your homework first before you even. And then there's a lot of classics that don't even need to be touched. Period. And then they try to recreate these classics, and they do a horrible job. And it's as a veteran DJ like myself, it's very hard to listen to. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean when I say, well, we as DJs just have to do a better job into searching for that quality, top quality music. But at the same time, these producers out here need to do a better job as to, doing a better job as to when you're touching a classic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, no, I was going to say there are certain classics you don't touch. I'm a big believer you don't touch Marvin Gaye. I've heard people try to recreate Marvin Gaye, and to me that's just sacrilege. You don't do that. So I
I
agree with
think,
you.
mhm. I think also uh, I'm not knocking house music altogether. I just think we can do, all the artists, all the producers, all the creators, whatever you want to call it. We have to do a better job to keep this thing alive, because at some point we're going to get tired of hearing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, and
and
it gets commercialized, right? It
yeah,
gets
right,
commercialized, and then it loses the authenticity, right? The
correct,
truth of the music when it
correct.
becomes commercialized. And I agree with you there, 1,000%.
And that's why you see, you know, a lot of these top-notch DJs, producers that started here and are from here are not even here anymore. They're in Europe. David Morales, okay,
Although I think he's in Puerto Rico these days.
wherever
Um,
he is, he's not
but
he's not
yeah,
in Brooklyn. He's not in Brooklyn
he's
anymore.
not in Brooklyn anymore. He is not in Brooklyn
He's
anymore.
originally from Myrtle Avenue, but he ain't there no more. So, but you know, a lot of these top-notch DJs, you know, we don't embrace the house scene like the Europeans do, and that's
And
why it's bigger there than it is
and
here, and it's
and
sad.
I remember you and I talked about this some time ago, and you felt that a lot of producers, and I agree with you, a lot of producers have a signature sound, but you have a signature sound to the extent that all of your music sounds the same. In my opinion, then you start to lose the value of the music. If every track that you put out sounds the same, then you start to lose value in the music. I know you and I had discussed that some time ago.
Well, I agree to an extent, Rick. Because I remember that discussion. We was talking about David Morales. Actually, he was the topic.
Mhm.
I said to you that I was kind of disappointed as to the direction of his sound, where it's going now. It's very European. Now I understand DJing is a business. These guys put their whole life into it. They have to make money, have to earn money. I get all of that. So they have to play based on what's going to bring money in their pocket. I understand that. But here we go again. I'm used to a certain sound, the Def Mix sound, which is a signature sound, which is a sound that started him, grew him, got him, you know, buku status because he's up here now. And I just wish every now and then, I'm not saying for him to go back to his sound, but just every now and then when you put out a new title, um, give us one mix, a dub, anything. You know what I mean? With that Def Mix signature. You know what I'm saying? That signature Morales sound, the Momo dub, the Def dub. What, remember them
The Red
dub,
Zone dub, the
the
Red
Red
Zone
Zone
dub.
dub, all of that stuff. So that's
Yeah,
the stuff that I miss. That I
yeah.
miss.
Now,
Um,
you know, we talk about that, but then there are those producers that have a signature sound that their music does not sound the same, right? And I always look back to Kenny, and I know that you're a big fan of Kenny. I am as well, and it's because if you listen to Kenny tell his story, his origins were about the music and the breadth
mhm,
of music, and it
mhm,
wasn't a specific genre. And so when
mhm,
you listen to anything that he produces, 40 years later, you hear that because
mhm.
his songs do not sound the same.
And that's exactly what I mean when I go back to house music. You know, why only one genre is being focused or being oversaturated as opposed to none all of the genres not being played at the same time. It's a mixture. Same thing with Kenny, like you just said. Kenny was raised in Brooklyn in an Italian area. Okay. They heard all kinds of music, hip hop, trip hop, jazz, this and that. And what he did was he incorporated all of his signature sounds based on what he was raised on. So that's why Kenny is so eclectic now as opposed to Louis. Now, Louis, I have love for Louis. Louis my dude. I love him to death. But a lot of his sound has become repetitious. You can tell a Louis Vega record as soon as that first beat hits. At least I can.
Yep.
Okay. But with Kenny, he takes chances. You know, I mean, his name is a brand name to begin with. So anyone's going to listen. If they see a Kenny Dope mix on a record, they're gonna listen to it. They're gonna listen to it. Okay,
He's
just to
done.
see what and they're gonna get hooked at some point. Even if you think you're not gonna like the record, you're gonna get hooked because he takes chances. He's just I could just gravitate to him more than I gravitate to Lori. I just do. I really do. And I've heard him live several times. I've heard them both live several times, and they each complement each other when they play together. But my brand is Kenny over Louis.
Do you remember your first DJ gig?
shit. you making me. I gotta wake up the brain cells. Well, I started DJing. I remember it was hot. It was August of 1977. Yeah. No, 1978 it was actually. I gained interest in DJing in August of 1977. And back in those days, it was the old block party scene where the DJ will bring his stuff out to the park, usually the handball court park, and they'll go to the light pole out in the street and pull the wires out, plug up their stuff, and so they can get their equipment working. And I used to sit at my window, and it was a park literally right across the street from my house. I used to live on Irving Place in Brooklyn. And right across the street was the public school 56. That's where I actually went to school at. And I sit at my window and watch this guy plug this equipment up. I'm like, what is he doing out there? And I was 13 at the time. And so one day I snuck out the house and I went across the street to see what was going on because I didn't know. So they would start playing this record. 5 o'clock, it's still hot outside. Around 5, 6 o'clock, they're playing music. No one's out there, just a few people. But as it got later, everybody would show up in this park and start dancing and smoking their weed or drinking, whatever the case was. So one night I went out there just to see what was going on. And what caught my attention immediately was the crowd and how they were responding to this one person that was playing records. I'm like, wow. I'm like, how does this one person get all these people to respond in the way that they're responding? So that gravitated, that caught my attention immediately. Then I'm looking at him and seeing what he's actually doing. Well, he's not really doing anything but playing a record. But at the time, it was a popular record that people came out to hear, that people came out to party on. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, so he's playing records to this mass crowd of people and the response is, yeah, I'll go on. So I'm like, maybe, wow, that looks really cool. Maybe I want to do something like that one day. Maybe I want to, make people feel like that, feel happy and joyful and stuff like that. So that was the first part. The second part was the vinyl. I'm seeing this guy pulling out white labels of records that I didn't even seen before. Okay, never heard of before. I know the song because I hear it on the radio. So I'm seeing these white labels. I'm like, what is this? All this stuff, all this is white. What is going on? So I happened to go up to the booth one time, just sneaking up there, and I saw this. I had to have my records next to me. This, where it says promotional copy not for sale. So I'm like, well, what does that mean? So I asked one of my buddies, I said, what does that mean when it says promotional copy? He said, well, that means that it's a vinyl or it's a song that hasn't reached radio yet. And what this guy is doing is he's promoting the record and get crowd response to report to the radio stations or whatever record pool he's from. Now, back in those days, there was really only one record pool, and that was IDRC. And this was way before Judy Weinstein's, and all them other record pools. And from what I was told, actually, a lot of my collection I got from my stepbrother, some I got from y'all. Thank you very much. But in those days, they would get 2 copies of these promotional records, and it would just be a vocal on one side, instrumental on the other side. So that pretty much explained why I saw this dude doing this. Back and forth. Well, what he was doing was, when I later found out, was that he was creating his own dub of that song. In those days, you only had a vocal and an instrumental. There was no such thing as a dub. So what you had to do was you had to create your own special mix for that song. Okay? That was another reason why I gravitated to DJing. So to answer your question, when my first gig, it was the following year. It was a house party. It was a Blue Light in the Basements party. I didn't have no Techniques turntables, nothing like that. I had 2, I don't know what those record players were. I think it was Sansui, two Sansui. Remember Sansui? It was two of them.
Yeah.
Okay, and a realistic mixer from Radio Shack. I had one of those. Okay, and I used that, and I had my little crowd, and my boys promoted it. We passed out little flyers out in the street, and we only charged 50 cents to get in, and a lot of girls came in. There was more girls than guys all the time at the party, but that was my first gig. It was a Blue Light in the Basement party, and Blue Light in the Basement means it was a slow jam party. So I really wasn't playing a lot of fast songs. It was a lot of slow songs. Mm. But that was my first party, my first ever. And I felt good about it. I mean, I got the response that I saw visually the year before, what that guy was doing in the park with those people. I got that. I was able to spin records like what that gentleman was doing out there. It may not have been a white label, but it was something that I was doing that I saw this guy do. I was able to emulate what he did and felt good about it. And I said to myself at that point, this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. So that would be my first, that's 78. So that would be June of 78.
And how'd you get down with Real House Radio?
Through you. Through you. I don't know how that happened, but I remember it was through you. It was just one day. I think you introduced me to T, and you was telling me about this radio show that he was doing or was putting together, and I guess I submitted a. I'm not really sure, but I know it was through you. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
What's the experience been like so far?
It's you know what? I enjoy it. I think the exposure that I'm getting through Real House Radio is the most I've ever gotten in any kind of arena of disco. I mean, arena of DJing. It's really good to see people from all over the world who listens to Real House Radio respond to your music, respond to whatever song you're playing, shout out to you, started following you. It's really a great way to showcase your talent as a bedroom DJ. And I am a bedroom DJ and proud of it. I think a lot of us bedroom DJs don't get the credit or the recognition that we deserve. And quite frankly, I hear a lot of bedroom DJs that a lot of these top-notch DJs, we would make them feel bad. We would make them look bad because there's many nights where I've heard Morales, I've heard Louis, I've heard Frankie, I heard they weren't on their game, okay, or they were just crappy, okay. And a lot of us bedroom DJs, if we had the notoriety or the chance that they had to get out there and do, or even the time, because you have to think about it. These guys, they dedicated their life to their craft, to what they do. They made it into a business. Okay, that's their job. A lot of us, we had to go out and get a job, say for whatever reason. All right. So we didn't have the luxury of the time to do what they did. And obviously they earned it. Not knocking them down, but I do know that there are times when a lot of us sound way better than them.
I'm gonna talk a little bit about your after hours set. Because you were originally doing the Saturday night house party, doing the 8 to 10 slot. Yeah. And then you had to take a little bit of a hiatus. Mm-hmm. And so T moved into the 8 to 10 slot, and now you're doing the 10 to 12 slot on Saturday. Mm-hmm. How are you enjoying that? You feeling more clear? You can play different things? Are you feeling a little bit looser?
Yeah. I think it works better for me because, the late hour, people are usually drunk. And they want to hear, they don't care what they hear. They're going to respond to whatever it is because they feeling good. And I've always been like the closer of the crew anyway. You know what I mean? I've always been the last one to go on, and I'm comfortable in that slot. So, and I get to play what I want. You know what I mean? After hours means just that. After hours, when you go to any after hours club, you hear all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? And I embraced it. I don't know how I got to that spot, but, I
the
guess
luck, it was the luck of the draw. It was the
yeah, I
luck of
guess
the
it's just the
draw.
luck of the draw. I mean, what I'm saying is I never asked to be in that time slot. When I came back, I thought I was going to continue, be on the 8 o'clock slot. But when T said I'm going to go to the 10 o'clock, I said okay, and I just went along with the flow. But it actually works out better for me.
I will say that the Wheelhouse Radio, the phenomena, it is growing, and it's in part because of what you do. It's in part because of what Max does, and the other the other resident DJs. But it's great to be in early, right, and to watch it grow as it's growing now.
Right,
And
right.
and that's why I asked the question about the 10 to 12 slot, because it is different, right?
Mhm,
We typically don't have someone running 10 to 12 any of the other nights that we're on, but Saturday night it's perfect, right, to
mhm.
do the after hours set. So I think it fits well.
Yeah, TT always tends to remind me that I'm one of the veterans on Real House Radio. Besides Brian, because Brian brought me into this. So, I forget that sometimes. He's like, "Yo, Will, you are like the fabric of Real House Radio." So it's almost like I'm setting the tone for everybody else. But no, everybody has their own style, their own way to play, their own genre to play. So, I embrace all you guys. I mean, really, I listen to you guys, and I'm like, I gotta. Sometimes I be saying to myself, I gotta step my game up because I be hearing these sets, and I'm like, okay, I hear you, I see you. You may not see my name too much on the chat board, but I am listening. Believe me, and I'm taking notes because
Definitely.
that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say definitely the hottest bedroom DJs on the planet.
That's
Just
right.
yeah, for sure.
That's right. That's right. And I
Shout out
think
to
that
Real House Radio.
yeah, yeah. As DJs, that's how we learn. You know what I mean? That's how we learn our craft. Um, I don't want to go into that, but unless you ask me that question, then I'll go into it. I'm talking about the craft of DJing. I really don't want to. I don't want to. But if you ask me, then I'll go into it. But that's another thing. Unless you want to go into, it, we can go into it.
It's all you, brother.
Okay.
This is your day, man. This is your day.
Well, all right, so the question would be, how do I feel with the state of DJing, the art of well, the so-called art of DJing today? That would be the question imposed to me, and this would be my answer. And again, it's based on how I was introduced into this. Okay, DJing is not only a business; it's entertainment. We're entertainers. Okay. How I learned the craft of DJing is with these. Okay. With these hands, you have to manipulate them, the sound, work your records. Okay. Being able to be on BPM point, being able to manipulate the sound quality, the vocal quality, the highs, the mids. These hands are always busy. Busy. In my day coming up, like I said, you only had the vocal and the instrumental, so you had to work your records, okay, to create a different sound to that particular song or a different mix to that particular song. A lot of the stuff today is programmed. A lot of the the um the way they DJ today is a little bit. Um, I don't consider it an art, quite frankly. I'm just going to be frank with you. I don't. In my day, we had to read the grooves. When you didn't have a headphone, a lot of times we didn't have headphones, so you had to know that song. And in order to change it from one record to the other, you had to read those grooves, so you know where to place that needle and move it from one side to the other. That's an art. That's something you have to learn to do. You have to be taught that. Okay. Today's DJing has been so simplified now where you can just push a button. You just push a button. And that may be cool for some people that are into that. I mean, it makes DJing a whole lot easier. You ain't got to carry the crates of records anymore, which I remember back breaking days and stuff like that. I get all of that. I believe me, I do. Believe me, I do. But it's not for me. And everybody has their own cup of tea when it comes to DJing. Okay, I love the digital world. I love it, but it's just something about it that I just can't fully embrace. I'm still using a Bozak mixer. Okay, a Bozak from 1972. All right. Why? Because the Bozak gives me a sound that I'm looking for. The analog sound has always been for me, not the digital. It's a warmer sound. It's a fuller sound, and you can feel it. You can definitely notice the difference when you hear analog as opposed to digital. Okay. What I'm used to is maneuvering, work your records, read your BPMs, read the grooves. When you mix one record out of the other, you don't chop it. You take the bass line out of one record, ride your vocals over the other track. This is the stuff that I was taught in DJing, and I don't see that anymore. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you hear it, but a lot of times you don't. And I'm not saying it's not the right way to do things. It's just not for me. So I try to stay true to how I was brought up doing this. That's why whenever you see me buy another Dan going Bozak, that's the reason why. You know what I mean? Because that's what I like. That's what I'm into. I can have, as a matter of fact, I still got my controller, right? The tractor. I don't even use it. It's sitting there collecting dust because my preference is analog.
So speaking of warm sounds, can you tell us 3 of your favorite dubs from the 80s or 90s?
As far as house music,
Yes.
I think I sent them to you.
Three of your favorite dubs.
Actually, one I didn't send and I told I was playing it today too, and I forgot all about it. TTO, Back and Forth, the sax dub that MAW did. That's like the favorite, or if one of the favorites, and I totally forgot about that one. Of course, Little Lewis, new dance beat, that unreleased mix that Louie and Kenny did. There was, I don't want to say it because we record this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. There's an unreleased Kenny Dope dub of "I Can't Get No Sleep" that I kind of jacked off of Facebook. But and it's because it's that hot, you know what I mean? But if I had to do that just to get a smear copy of it to play it on my mix sets, then that just goes to show you that it's that high. Okay, so that's one of my favorites as well. Hopefully it will get a full release. What was the other one I sent? There was one more I sent. What was the other one I sent? You guys. There was 3 I sent.
Yes, you did.
I do not recall off the top of my head. These are your top 3.
I can't remember nothing, man. Oh my God. Well, anyway, those are my 3. I mean, I have so many dubs that I can think of. Well, actually, and there's another one that didn't get a lot of airplay, which I think was a really, really great job that DJ Pierre did. It's called "Come Fly With Me," and it was on Jive Records. You remember that, Rick?
I do.
And that one really, really, really great work. He took his time putting that together, but it didn't get a lot of play. But that's one of my favorites as well.
And as far as BPMs go, what's the perfect BPM for you, if there's such a thing?
Well, for me, it's 120, between 118 and 120. But it really depends on, now with vocals, now 118 and 120 as far as tracks are concerned. Now as vocals is concerned, you really got to be careful with that because it depends on how the record was produced and how the vocals were laid on the track. Sometimes vocals don't fit right on tracks. And if you turn up the BPM, it's going to really sound crazy. You may have to slow it down, you know? So it really depends on how the production work on that vocal song or that vocal track was put together. Then you can adjust your BPM accordingly. But as far as tracks are concerned, between 118 and 120.
So I'm gonna peel back on that a little bit, because you made an important statement. So your preference is 118 and 120. You might go up a little higher depending on the track itself. If you had a plus or minus on your BPMs, what would your plus or minus be? Like if a track is at 122, what would be the fastest you would play that track?
Well, Soulful House, 120, 122, maybe 122. Acid House, maybe a little bit slower.
So you would take a track that the original BPM is 122 and you would slow it down.
Yeah, because it depends on how it sounds. I mean, it may not sound good at 120. You know what I mean? It may sound better. You know, Tony's the king of that. Tony Humphries, he does it all the time. That's why they call his mixes the hump mixes, because he slows his stuff down to the point where you're actually humping. It sounds like you're on a hump, like a camel or some shit. That's what. Oh, I'm sorry, but that's what he does. You know what I mean? So yeah, it really depends on the way the vocals, especially with a vocal record, a vocal track. It depends on how the vocals are laid out on it. It may not sound right with playing on 120 BPM. It may sound better on 118, or it may sound better on 120 as opposed to 118. It depends.
If you could relive one underground house gig, which one would that be and why?
Oof.
Oh God, you're taking me back.
Oof.
One underground house gig that I did or attend?
Yes.
That I did?
Yes.
Oh, man.
There's a couple that come to mind that we all did together.
Damn. Yeah, there's a couple too, but
While you think about it, there's one that comes to mind. A little street in Brooklyn. There's a loft. There was a loft and
oh, you talking about Bergen Loft?
For those, because we have not touched on this, but Will
I'll bring that up, man.
He is absolutely enamored. He is infatuated. He is absolutely in the deepest love with fog. And at this particular venue, this was in a loft. It was an old factory, and the windows weren't sealed completely. And so you'd be downstairs. There'd be a line of people downstairs waiting to come in. The fog would be coming out of the windows. It would be puffs of fog coming out of the windows. That one comes to mind. I love the Bergen Loft party.
Yeah, that was definitely one of them. That I forgot about Bergen Loft. Yeah, that was definitely one of them. And we had a couple of people that were asthmatic were complaining about the loft. I mean,
just a couple.
Just a couple.
By the way, for my wedding reception, the after party, the fire department was called in because
I remember that
there was fog coming out of the venue.
Yeah.
They literally called the fire department. But back to the original question.
That was another good party, believe it. I forgot about that one too.
That was a good party.
I think for me though, the one party that has really struck out, and I'm not sure if it was even a party. I think it was just a gathering. Remember Kenny's house when he was in Hempstead? Remember when we was doing something in his garage? And everybody, Cameron and all of them showed up and whatnot. And it actually turned into a party. That was the night, remember, with Keith? You remember?
Yeah, so
don't do it. Don't do it. But that's what I'm talking about. That one right there. Yeah, that one. That was, to me, I think that was the best. I think it was the best. And we're just gonna leave it at that. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot more to that story, but we're not going to go into
we won't go into the details. The names of the innocent, they shall be changed. But remember the parties at Yvette's when she used to have that co-op in Springfield Garden?
Yeah, we done a lot of functions together. A lot of functions. But that one there, I distinctly, because I remember I had got, that was that Kerry Chandler and Jerome Sydenham double promo came out. I forgot the name of it. I think it's called Jekka Joe's. I can't remember. No, the Escargo Creve Joe, something to that effect. It was something Spanish thing. I don't know what it was, but Kerry had a ton of dubs on it.
Yeah.
Do you remember that when I was going for
Mhm.
one robust horns, acoustic this, da 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 da, and people y'all just went crazy up in there. So that's when I remembered as my best underground party. Well, it turned into a party. I think it wasn't even a party. It was just a barbecue or something. I don't know, but
it was a barbecue. It was a barbecue.
Outstanding.
Good old Mr. Kenny Wright.
Yep.
Shout out to K. Wright.
K. Wright. Our sound engineer. Well, I remember when we did the Bergen Loft, getting back to the Bergen Loft, well, we just kept blowing speakers, and Kenny was down there on that floor just fixing stuff. As we blowing them, he fixing them. As he blowing them, we fixing them. So big up to Kenny, because Kenny he saved us a lot of speakers, a lot of money. I mean, some of them had to get reconed, but he was down there making it happen.
I always tell the story that I happened to be walking by one of the stacks, and you threw India on.
Ah, yes.
And the bullets were just about my height, and they literally pierced right through me when he put India on, and my knees got weak.
Listen, that wasn't intentional. I didn't even see you, man.
No, it was not intentional, but it was. I mean, those are the memories, right?
Yeah. But those are good parties, man. Those are the ones that you cherish and that you remember, and it's the small parties to me I always embrace more so than the big parties. I really do. I mean, it's more intimate, and it's just you just have more fun. To me, I have more fun with the small parties as opposed to the big ones.
Well, Mr. Masters, are you ready for the 18 speed question round?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, yeah. Go ahead. Speed questions. So that means I got a certain amount of time to answer these questions. Is that what you're saying?
Speed questions.
First thought that comes to mind.
Okay, go ahead.
Pro Kids or Chuck Taylors?
Pro Kids. The 69ers.
My man.
Okay.
Lawrence Taylor or Keyshawn Johnson?
Lawrence Taylor.
Bentleys or Silver Shadows?
Silver Shadows.
As the producer, Kenny Dope or Kerry Chandler?
Kenny Dope.
Your first response was Kerry, though.
Yeah, that was a tough one. It was a tough one, but I gotta go with Kenny.
All right.
Madison Square Garden or Nassau Coliseum?
Oh, the Garden, hands down.
As a DJ, Kenny Dope or Kerry Chandler?
Kenny Dope.
Now, not to diminish anything that Kerry does, I've seen Kerry play full sets on reels, and he's doing a full set on 2 reels.
I've seen it too. He's an excellent DJ and producer. He really is. I think he's a better producer than he is a DJ. His music is
he's another one with a signature sound that it all doesn't sound the same. But I agree.
Right. Exactly. I mean, you know me, I'm a Kerry head. I got his catalog here right next to me, so I know he's a extremely talented brother. I actually kind of think that he was a little bit better when Yaya Maduga was with him. You know, do you remember that? Because that's when a lot of that we used to call them nigga beats. That real hard stuff he used to do. The Way I Feel and music, all that King Street stuff.
Yeah, what most folks would consider you ramp that up to 128, and it's garage, right? Or garage, as Steve reminds us.
Garage.
As Steve reminds us, as garage.
T. Scott or Dave Mancuso?
As far as DJ?
Yes.
T. Scott.
Nathans or Juniors?
Oh God. Juniors.
The A Train or the number 5 train?
A Train, man.
Yuri or Bozak?
Bozak, man. Bozak. Bozak is the mother, the father, the sister, the brother. Everybody else are prototypes from that mixer.
Well, I will tell you, I loved my GLI back in the day.
Yes.
Oh yeah, but GLI came from. Remember that.
Yeah. I know.
And actually, Bozak. One thing we tend to forget: Bozak is actually not a mixer; it's a preamplifier.
True.
We forget that, and that's the reason why it's so powerful. Okay, do your homework.
Excuse me, Mr. Bozak here.
No, it is. It really. And you know what? I forgot. I'm sitting up there calling. Oh, I need me a Bozak mix. No, it says it right on there. Preamplifier. It's right on the faceplate.
Red Fox or Flip Wilson?
Red Fox.
He would be disappointed in our NC-17 rating. He would be 100% disappointed.
That's my dude.
So I will say, fuck that NC-17 rating.
Red is the dude, man. Red is the dude.
Kennedy Fried Chicken or Waffle House?
Kennedy Fried Chicken, man.
Waffle House.
Well, we got Waffle down here, but Waffle. I'm tired.
They have Waffle House in Brooklyn.
I remember Kennedy when you had the munchies and you went on Fulton Street to get. That's right. 3 o'clock in the morning, you always get 2 pieces of the biscuit.
They were always open.
So yeah, Kennedy's, yeah, definitely.
Derek Jeter or Reggie Jackson?
Reggie Jackson.
Fab Five Freddy or Ralph McDaniels?
Ralph McDaniels.
Mayor Lindsay or Mayor Dinkins?
Oh, I don't remember them. I have to go with David Dinkins.
Can I throw one in there? Max, can I throw one in there? All right. So, BLS or Kiss?
Oh, BLS, hands down.
Okay. All right. BLS. So, Mr. Magic or Red Alert?
Mr. Magic.
Okay.
Monique Bingham or Barbara Tucker?
Monique Bingham.
Glenn Campbell or John Denver?
No, you so stupid. My man Glenn Campbell, man. You know.
That's an easy one. How many sets have you closed out?
Dude, man. Come on, man. You know Glenn Campbell, man. Wichita Lineman and Rhinestone Cowboy, all of that stuff. Come on now.
And last but not least, KRS-One or Dougie Fresh?
KRS-One.
Nah, see, I'm gonna disagree. I'm gonna respectfully disagree. Come on, KRS doesn't have a dance named after him.
Boogie Down Productions will always get paid. We write the dopest rhymes and make it better. Come on, man. Dougie was just a nah. Come on, man. Nah.
Dougie's the entertainer. He's the original entertainer.
Doing all of this.
Yeah. I was waiting for you to stand up and do the Dougie, man. That would have been perfect.
Nah. That's okay. That's all right. That's all right.
Oh,
you answered them all successfully.
Thank you.
So I will take us out. I will close us out. Thanking you, Max, for as always, keeping us moving forward, and of course the legend. Or the former legend. What are we going by today? Is it the former legend or is it the legend?
I listen. At my age now, I'm going to be 61 in a few weeks. So at my age, I'll take the legend. I'll take it.
All right. So we will keep the legend. But thank you. Appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you sharing your story or the stories. Love the stories. Now that it's memorialized, you will remember how you met Brian. You will remember how you met me. Now we have it. We got it down. But thank you so much for joining.
Well, I thank you for having me. I'm extremely humbled for you guys to even consider sitting down and talk to me. I'm also humbled to share my story, and hopefully that someone that may be listening will learn something from it. Learn that, if I may expound a little bit, learn the art of DJing. Learn that first. Anybody can play a record, including old Will Masters, but learn your equipment. Okay, let it work for you. Learn how to operate your equipment. Learn the sound. Learn it. Embrace the sound, because anybody can play a record, but it won't sound the way you want it to sound if you don't know how to work your equipment. I remember Levan said it one time. Um, in order for you to, when he was talking about the Bozak, a lot of people weren't getting the proper command that a Bozak is supposed to do. And what I mean is they would turn the pots all the way up, but not the main source. So what you're doing is you're burning the transistors in that mixer. It overheats. Your main output, your main source, which is that big knob on your mixer, that's your volume. You set that to a certain tone. So when you going from turntable to turntable using your pot knobs, you don't have to turn them up all the way. So now your mix is giving you the best command possible to hear that record. Know how to work your speakers. Know how to set your speakers when you're doing a party. Okay, and a lot of times your system doesn't have to be turned up so loud where it becomes deafening. Okay, and of course it's by choice, whatever you choose. If you want to go old school, so be it. If you want to do new school, as far as the controllers and stuff like that, that's fine too. But just know how to operate your equipment. Okay, you'll be a lot more effective as a DJ. And one more thing I'm going to say, and I'm gonna shut my mouth. To become an even effective DJ and a well-respected DJ, always remember to keep your crowd first. Keep yourself humbled as a DJ. It's not about you. You're the entertainer. Okay. If you notice, a lot of DJs, veteran DJs, when they play their records, they're out looking at the crowd. You know why? They're not looking at what record they're going to play next or how they turning the knob or how they fancying this. No, they're not doing that. They're looking at the crowd. And you know why? Because they're looking to see if the crowd is enjoying themselves. So we have to put our egos to the side as DJs. And all of us, I'm not talking to all of us, but the ones that know I'm talking, they know who I'm talking about. Put your ego to the side. It's about the people that put money in your pocket and the people that support your cause and support what you do. Finally, I think I gotten to this point in my life with the DJing is that when I came in, it wasn't about the money. It was about the love of the music. I think if we go back to that, of why we do this as DJs, is for the love of the music. The money's gonna come. If you're good, the money's gonna come. It's gonna come without you even asking for it. Let's get back to why we do this as DJs. I know for me, it was for the love of the music. That's all I got to say.
Preach. So this podcast is going to air just before you have a special set. Now, we're not gonna talk about what that set will be, but that'll be coming up right after the podcast. So we want everyone to stay tuned, and as I like to say, stay tuned and stay groovy. Thank you, brothers.
Peace.